Bom dia, good morning. So thank you very much for being today. And it's really a great pleasure for me. It's like I'm so happy to be here and talk about Zabbix, and especially because of a new version of Zabbix, Zabbix 7.0. I think Zabbix team has made a great job of releasing Zabbix 7.0 just before Zabbix Conference Latam. So super excited about it. So my talk today will be obviously about 7.0, some new features of this new version, but also I would like to share my thoughts and let's have a look maybe at the future plans. So what we may expect in Zabbix in the future. But now I would like to remind you, so what's our mission? And we, as Zabbix, we really trying to help businesses deliver flawless services for better world and happier people. And indeed, if you think about the nature of monitoring tools, observability tools, it's all about making sure that our business or our, I don't know, a network or a cloud or, I don't know, a data center, it works and it's operational. So a monitoring tool, observability tool, is something that constantly check that what we do is working fine 24/7. We don't need to do anything. The monitoring tool is checking constantly that everything is absolutely fine. So and actually that's why we have a Zabbix. Our goal is really to build a tool which will provide actually a great level of transparency. Great level of transparency of how our business, and by business I understand many different things, like data center, IT infrastructure, or OT infrastructure, how it operates. So we are building a tool for IT, OT monitoring, observability. We really want to build a monitoring and observability, kind of complete and the best solution on the market for monitoring and observability. We want to build a product which is affordable. And of course, Zabbix, being a free and open source software, it is affordable. It's affordable to absolutely all people. And of course, superb visualization and reporting is highly scalable. Apps highly scalable to scale to monitor the largest environments, but also we can downscale it so it can be used in a very niche embedded use cases. Well, staying open source, that is our promise to our users and the community members, that we don't want to move any open core way, or we don't want to split our product into community or enterprise, because nowadays many companies become a very protective. Yeah, they want to protect their own business by moving away from open source. You know all those examples on the market. Yeah. But our intention and my intention of Zabbix and the Zabbix team is really to deliver Zabbix software as a free and open source. Yes, with 7.0 we have changed the license. If you notice, we have moved from GPL v2 to AGPL, Affero GNU Public License version 3. And actually maybe the only reason why we did it is just to have some sort of protection maybe from a big public cloud vendors, so they cannot take over product, cannot take over business. So this is the only reason. But for us, for users of Zabbix, for the customers of Zabbix, it brings absolutely no difference. So Zabbix is still free and open source software. And of course, Zabbix can be used everywhere. So we have we have a complete freedom. We may use Zabbix on premise, absolutely no worries at all. Yeah, so we do provide Zabbix packages for different platforms. Well, Kubernetes, Docker, many different distributors of Linux are supported. But also, if you prefer to deploy Zabbix in the cloud, we do provide one-click set up for deploying Zabbix in AWS, deploying Zabbix in Azure, deploying Zabbix in GCP or DigitalOcean, for example. So there is a total freedom how Zabbix can be deployed. Sustainability, and I think this is very, very important, especially it is kind of the way how we make decision in Zabbix, or how I tend to make a decision. I really tend to think in the long term. So how any decision I make will reflect the future, maybe after 1 year. Will it make any difference after 2 years, after 5 years? I'm super, super happy that at Zabbix, we found a great balance of being free and open source tool, providing the software for free on one hand, but on the other hand, we are a sustainable company, we are sustainable business, and we are constantly growing. And the way how we grow, of course, it's services. So we do provide all sorts of different commercial services on top of Zabbix. And of course, our partners, they also do provide commercial services on top of Zabbix. So all sorts of services like technical support, upgrade, which is really important right now because maybe many of us want to upgrade from previous releases to Zabbix 7.0. Turnkey solution, template building, actually anything. So any service you may imagine around Zabbix, we or our partners, we do provide it for you. And in many cases, some companies, maybe some ask me, okay, why do we purchase commercial services? We have our own engineers, we can do it on our own, yeah? But in most cases, by buying services from partners, from Zabbix directly, companies save time and money because we know many things much, much better. We as developers of Zabbix, or our partners as a good experts in Zabbix, they know many things much better. And Zabbix as a team, as a company, is constantly growing. At this moment, it's more than 150 people working on Zabbix full-time. So it's developers, I don't know, documentation writers, support engineers, sales, marketing. So we are a big distributed, a global team of people. And the only reason why we exist, we want to build a better product and we want to deliver a better services to our customers. And I'm super, super, super excited that we are not alone. We are supported by the great network of our partners. Yeah, more than 250 partners all over the world, and many, many partners here in Brazil and in all other Latin American countries. All right, so let's talk about 7.0 LTS right now. 7.0 came with more than 110 different new features, improvements, and enhancements. I have to say that if we compare 7.0 LTS with 6.0 LTS, for example, it really feels like a different product. There's a huge difference in the functionality and the way how Zabbix feels, in the way how Zabbix performs between 6.0 LTS and 7.0 LTS. So again, let me explain the kind of the idea maybe behind Zabbix. So why we are making different architectural decisions. Zabbix, we are really trying to build all-in-one solution. All-in-one in the sense that if you need a monitoring observability tool, we do provide one product and it delivers everything. It actually implements a very, very strong pattern. It's a data collection, analysis of data, visualization of data, and a reaction of data, notifications and alerting, auto-remediation functions, yeah? So I think this is very, very strong patterns that Zabbix implements. And of course, maybe you remember before it was like a big data hype, yeah? Big data hype, like, okay, let's collect all sorts of information, all sorts of data, and then decide later how we are going to use it, yeah? But Zabbix follows a little bit different philosophy. We think first, okay, what kind of information needs to be collected? Why and how we are going to use this information in the future? And because of this, in Zabbix we have a very high quality data. We know what kind of information we collect. And because of this, this is information we may use for different purposes. For example, for AI, yeah? So we may take data, we know the nature of the data we can use it for AI. Also, in Zabbix we have a distributed monitoring thanks to the great proxies. So we have proxies, and why proxies are important? It's not only distributed monitoring, but it's also about kind of edge computing. And what is edge computing? Edge computing is when we do processing closer to the source of the data. Yeah? And in most of the cases, this is the most efficient way how to do data processing. So we have the source of the data, we have a proxies, and proxies doing some work very close to the source of the data. And of course, we have API for automation, auto-remediation, anomaly detection, and many other things. Now, Zabbix monitors actually all levels of your infrastructure, is able to monitor all levels of your infrastructure. Of course, there are some limitations. We are working on it, yeah? But that's our goal. We are trying to build a product that can really bring transparency on absolutely everything we may have related to IT, related to OT. It could be hardware, could be sensors, could be IoT, I don't know, servers, operating system level, applications, services, cloud, business services. So actually, and why it is possible? I think it's really possible just because we implement this very simple pattern of data collection, analysis of data, reaction to the data, visualization, and reporting. It can be applied to absolutely everything. Yeah, it can be applied to everything. Zabbix 7.0 actually introduced a new set of templates. There are much more. This is just a few examples. The monitoring of Cisco devices, monitoring of HP Enterprise devices. Also, I'm very happy about our partnership with Red Hat when we introduced a great Ansible playbooks, yeah, and those are officially supported. So very excited about it. And there are much more. So with every new version of Zabbix, we introduce more and more templates and integration. And for example, the Fortinet, we also have introduced a number of great templates for monitoring of the Fortinet devices. The quality of security. With every new release of Zabbix, we introduce at least, well, a few features that make Zabbix much more secure. And why it's important? Because we use Zabbix in different industries. And some industries are very sensitive to security. Some industries are sensitive to different compliances. Yeah, we need to be compliant to certain rules. That's why with every new version of Zabbix, we're introducing additional measures to make sure that Zabbix is super secure. And security, it comes close to the quality. The higher quality product we have, the more secure it is. So I think you saw this diagram before. It's all about the different security measures on the different levels of Zabbix, on agent side, on the proxies, on the Zabbix server side, API, Zabbix UI. There are so many different things to make sure that Zabbix is a secure product. Like for example, in 7.0, we have introduced just out of the box support of enterprise grade MFA. Yeah, so this is really enterprise grade functionality, and again, it's part of a free and open source software. So now we have just out-of-the-box integration with, it could be Duo or it could be one-time password, so well, you choose it. What else? Security of Zabbix is not only what we take care of internally. We have our own cybersecurity team in Zabbix, but also it's been verified by independent companies, yeah? First of all Zabbix companies are ISO 2701 certified. Also, we have a great cooperation with the HackerOne. HackerOne is a company that really engaged the world's top security experts, and they are trying to find different vulnerabilities in your software, yeah? And we have a bounty program, so we pay for all those found vulnerabilities. And last year, for example, we paid approximately, I think, 18,000 of US dollars for different vulnerabilities found by the top security experts. And this year we continue this cooperation. Of course, we keep all those findings public. Yeah. So as soon as some security-related issue is reported and it gets fixed, we publish this information, so your cybersecurity teams will be very happy, yeah, because all information is absolutely publicly available. What else? A single pane of glass. That's what I said before. We want to make sure that Zabbix gives you a very clear picture of what is inside of your infrastructure. So it's really about the total visibility and the total transparency. And we made many great changes in Zabbix 7.0. Well, so many things here. First of all, actually, there was a process of rethinking about how dashboards should work, yeah? And now dashboards, they are much more dynamic. So it's possible to have a kind of highly navigatable dashboards. When you select one element in dashboard, another elements of the dashboards are changed. We have introduced also development framework. So anyone who has development experience can basically create their own ways of visualization in Zabbix. And by the way, today and tomorrow there will be 2 workshops made by Andrei. So Andrei will tell you how to do it, how to develop a new ways of the visualization of Zabbix, how to create a new widget. And it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. And of course, why we are doing this is because we understand that use cases for Zabbix are absolutely different. And industries are very different. And different industries requires different types of visualization which can be understood by people from that industry. But anyway, so what we have introduced in Zabbix 7.0. So first of all, a new set of core widgets. Core widgets, those are kind of a simple widgets like a pie charts, like a gauge widget, item history widgets, so we can see in a very nice form the history of items. We have also introduced kind of ability to create capacity reports. So it means that now we can specify absolute time periods, actually in all widgets. For graphs, for single value widget, for everything. So if you want to see, for example, I don't know, the lowest disk usage in June, I don't know, in January, February, May, and so on, you can do it. So you basically create a capacity report, and then you can say exactly the trend. Okay, maybe you should need you should purchase some additional hardware or maybe some cloud resources. This is super important. The widget navigators, what I mentioned before. Now you can navigate you may have a list of hosts, list of items, and then you click on a specific host on a specific items, and other widgets will display information about this selected host or selected item. And actually, in 7.0, we made absolutely all widgets navigatable. Absolutely all widgets navigatable. And of course, in the future, we have also introduced this very nice honeycomb widget. Okay, this I will show you how it looks like. And in the future, I would expect much more sophisticated types of visualization, showing maybe service trees, showing me topology information, and much more. So at this moment, we have created just kind of the base level for visualization, and there will be more coming in the future. And this is basically how it looks like. Yeah, so this is a honeycomb widget. It's display information about like memory utilization or a CPU, probably memory utilization or CPU utilization, and then the color could be different depending on your values. So we may specify different thresholds. And as soon as you click on something, or like this Docker node number 1, you see that the information is changed in those four widgets. And we may create a multi-level navigation. It's not only one level when you select a host. We can create a multi-level navigation. Select host, select item, select something else. And you see we are within one dashboard, but how flexible and how great it is right now. I'm super excited about it, because really a good visualization helps us to understand what's happening in our systems in a much better way. What else? And user synthetic web monitoring. So this is kind of game changer. Yeah, because it really allows us to simulate the browser. Basically, we are talking about the browser simulation by Zabbix. All right? And now if we want to check and we want to kind of monitor and take care of user experience, how users are working with our web application, do they have some, I don't know, maybe kind of performance issues or availability issues, we can do it using web monitoring. So we have implemented a new item type, and using this item type, we may create a very sophisticated script. Of course, the simple script can be very easy. Just go to website and get some metrics about the performance, about the availability, and so on. So this is a very simple one. But of course, we may create a multi-step checks when we log in, when we create some, I don't know, some transaction, we do something else, log out, and for all of these steps, we verify that everything is working fine and is working perfectly. And if not, if something is not working properly, for example, we have ability to capture a screenshot. So this is very nice. So, for example, okay, this is maybe a very simple example when we have different checks. Okay, one check, another check, and for each of those checks we have a screenshot. Yeah? Or we may capture a screenshot only for failed steps. So if a step failed, then we have a screenshot. So we can see clearly what happened with our application, why this test failed. And of course, we have all sorts of numeric data and metric data, so we can measure performance on a very detailed level. So actually, we can get very detailed breakdown where exactly we have some performance issues. So this is great functionality. I really encourage you to have a look and see how it works. It's a really powerful tool. Just have a look. So, thinking about the future, the single pane of glass, what is all about and what can be improved? Of course, there are many things that can be improved in Zabbix, and one thing is related to data processing. So, at this moment, Zabbix is a great tool, I think, to work with metric data. We have numeric data. Zabbix is also collect the log information or text data, but of course we want more. We want Zabbix to be also APM. We want Zabbix to collect open telemetry data, more complex data, structured data. Yeah, and now how to deal with it. So it is coming in the future, and topology information, for example, is super important. So collection of tracing, collection of log files on a new level, collection of events, it's all coming in the future releases of Zabbix. So this is about data processing, but also about the visualization. So we need to find a way how to visualize this data. Complex data requires complex visualization. So simple data, okay, we have a metric, all right, some graph, it's very clear and straightforward. But as soon as we start collecting much more complex data, like a tracing, like a streaming data coming from network devices, like net flow data, like open telemetry data, we should be creative and we should provide new ways how to make a great visualization for that type of information. What else? Scalability and performance has always been one of our priorities, and Zabbix 7.0 is no exception. We have introduced, I think, also I already told you this groundbreaking features. Yeah, but it's another kind of groundbreaking feature here. We are moving from synchronous data collection to asynchronous data collection. So what it means? It means that Zabbix becomes much more scalable in regards of data collection, in regards of a network discovery, in regards of all operations. So for example, right now, if you want to execute two connections, or you want to get two values in a parallel. Okay, you must have two pollers. Remember this parameter start poller in Zabbix configuration file. Start pollers, okay, two pollers, for example. It means that I can collect two values simultaneously. No more than two values simultaneously, yeah? So this is kind of hard limit, because this will be one process and this will be another process. All right, with Zabbix 7.0, we transition to threads, to using of threads. We are transitioning to asynchronous data collection, and it means that now you have a single poller, just one process, and this process is able to take care of collecting and managing thousands of connections in a parallel asynchronously. So what it means? It means basically we get much better scalability, and we also get much less resource usage. I'm talking first of all about CPU resource usage and the memory resource usage. So this kind of win-win situation. And in the future, it will lead to auto-scaling. We really won't make Zabbix to auto-scale, yeah? Because right now we have to tune number of pollers, number of trappers, number of discoverers, some different processes depending on our load. But in the future, I'd like Zabbix to be able to auto-tune those parameters, so you don't need to care about it at all. Front end. There is also a big change in the performance. If you're running large Zabbix installation, you may notice that front end with super administrators works very fast. It's super fast, it's super responsive. But if you're like normal user, you may face some, I don't know, some delays, like 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds delay. It really depends on your scale, how many devices you have. And why it happens? It happens because Zabbix need to spend time on understanding user permissions. And user permissions is not so easy to calculate, yeah? But now we have we change the algorithms, we kind of pre-calculate user permissions, we make it much more efficient, and now you basically get the same level of performance regardless of what kind of users you are. Super user, or ordinary user, the level of performance is exactly the same. So this is a huge change, and I think it just very visible. You install Zabbix 7.0, and your users will see it immediately. Okay, the web front end now is much, much more responsive. What else? In-memory data collection for proxies. So what it basically means? It means that in previous releases of Zabbix, proxy collected data. It would store data in a local database on a disk normally. It could be SQLi database in most cases for smaller proxies. And then it would read this data from the database and send it to Zabbix server. Yeah? But now actually we may keep data in memory. So basically we create in-memory buffer on proxies, collected data and stored in the memory, and then it's sent straight away to a server. And what it means of course less resource usage, less CPU, proxies are faster. You may run proxy on the same hardware, but you receive like 10 times or 100 of times better performance. Well, it's cheaper, it uses less energy, so there are very, very kind of obvious benefits. But we also support different modes, like disk mode. This is how proxy works now. We support memory mode, so all information is kept in memory. But of course, if we have no electricity, for example, or in case of some problems, you may lose part of information which is stored in the memory. So we have this hybrid mode when data is still stored in the database, but we keep it in memory and we send it from memory to Zabbix server, so we get a better performance. So that's how it works. And I would like to remind you that one of the proxies of Zabbix proxy is on International Space Station. Yeah, if you want to learn more about it, we have a blog post about this. So just go to the blog zabbix.com and we describe the details, how it's being used. And this is a great nature of the proxy. The proxy, it collects information all the time. Even if server is not available, if ground station is not available, it still collects data. But then when International Space Station has got connectivity, the proxy just pushes and sends data to the Earth. Yeah, so I'm super excited about it. It's a great cooperation with European Space Agency. And yeah, so we can, maybe proxy is flying somewhere above us right now. I don't know. We need to check where's the International Space Station right now. Yeah, so this is really cool. So I'm super excited about it. Yeah, this instant configuration update. Basically, with every new release of Zabbix, with the 6.2, 6.4, 7.0, we are introducing better responsiveness. Like you create an item, you create a host, for example, and all components of Zabbix immediately informed about it. Okay, so Zabbix server sends information about new host immediately to proxy. Proxy immediately notifies Zabbix agents, and just after a few seconds, maybe 10 of seconds, you already have data. You already have data coming to Zabbix. So this is very, very nice. Another great change is a centralized management of item timeouts. Yeah, you know this problem when you want to increase the timeout just for one item, and you cannot do it. You increase the timeout for the whole system, for example, and it doesn't work well because this timeout, it's for all items, and it slows down the system very, very much. But now, timeouts can be set on the different levels, on the global level for different item types. You can set it also on a proxy level, basically override it on a proxy level if you want. Yeah, so this is kind of optional override on a proxy level. And also you can override item timeout on an item level. So great. So we don't need to go to different configuration files and tune item timeouts. We can do it centrally from a central location using Zabbix frontend or using Zabbix API. And we can also here take advantage of macros. So we can use a macro here. So we don't need to change, I don't know, timeouts for hundreds of items. We just use a macro, one macro, and then we may control timeouts using macro. So this is great, and also it contributes to security because we don't need to give any access to configuration file to security guys. What else? Zero downtime upgrade of proxies. That's what we introduced in 6.4, but I would like to remind you now because I think many of us want to migrate to 7.0. So remember, when you upgrade to 7.0, you have much longer time window to upgrade your proxies because older proxies will continue to work. 6.4 proxies, 6.2 proxies, they will continue to send data. So you have much more time to upgrade your proxies. Yeah, and a good thing that we actually have all information about versions of proxies, about the compatibility of proxies in the Zabbix UI. 7.0 has introduced quite minor but very useful feature is that Zabbix will inform you about a new releases of Zabbix. Okay, if you're running 7.0.0 and then 7.0.1 is released, well, you can be notified immediately, and you see immediately, okay, there is a new version of Zabbix. Okay, you may go and download it. So, speaking about performance and speaking about TCO, the total cost of ownership and operating cost in general for Zabbix. So it's about performance, and it's about spending less time on maintenance of Zabbix. Yeah, of course, if for example, before we need to deal with the timeouts, and it's not so easy. But now it's very, very easy. We spend much less time on the maintenance of Zabbix, and it really contributes to the total cost of ownership of a Zabbix solution. Performance, we just started transition to threads. I think we will finish it in a 7.2 or a 7.4. And it really brings the absolutely different level of a vertical scalability, but we also think about the horizontal scalability as well. All right, real-time data streaming. So you probably know that Zabbix supports the streaming, real-time streaming of data to other destinations, metric data or events data. And with Zabbix 7.0, we have introduced additional filtering options by tags, so that you can stream one set of data to one destination, another set of data to another destination if you want. But in the future, that's what I mentioned about the support of streaming data. In the future, in 8.0, we'd like Zabbix to be able to collect the streaming data, to collect data coming from Kafka, collect data coming from open telemetry data sources, from different network devices. What else? Quite minor change of Zabbix 7.0, but very, very useful. We have introduced a new API call, which is called history push. And now we may basically push data. So we don't need to use Zabbix sender anymore, but we can also use native API method to push data to Zabbix. For example, we have a bash script, and we can use curl, command line utility, to push data to Zabbix. Or we can push this data from our application, for example, or some script, or from any integration. So this is a very kind of native way and very logical way how to send data to Zabbix. Another interesting improvement, or rather a new way of integration of Zabbix with different tools, is is a new Python library. It's called Zabbixutils. And Zabbixutils allows you to communicate to Zabbix using API. So basically, this is for communication with Zabbix API, or also you can send the data through the script. Just a very quick example. So this is a very simple script, okay? We specify URL, we specify token, we create a API, and then we do API call user get. Yeah? So, well, this is a user get, API user get. We want to get user ID, we want to get a name, and then we print usernames. Yeah, there will be a list of usernames. So very simple, just a few lines of code, like 5, 6, maybe, I don't know, 10 lines of code, and we do something useful. Okay, so please have a look. I think this is officially supported library, and it's already got lots of popularity among Zabbix users, community members. What else? Proxy load balancing, high availability. Another great, highly anticipated feature. Yeah, so I'm so happy we finally delivered it in Zabbix 7 and Zabbix 7.0. And we really made all our best to implement it in a very right and a correct way. So, well, how does it work? Very simple. Now you may create a group of proxies. Okay, so you have a group of proxies, like 4 proxies, and you tell group of proxies, I want to monitor this group of hosts. Okay, and that's it. And then what Zabbix does, it's automatically distribute all those hosts between proxies. Okay, maybe this will be monitored by proxy 1, those hosts will be monitored by proxy 2, proxy 3, proxy 4. So the load balancing is happening on a host level. And it depends, of course, on the number of items, how many items we have. So the load balancing can be a little, not like this, because I assume that all hosts are similar here, yeah? And this is how it works. So some sets of hosts will be monitored by proxy 1, proxy 3, proxy 2, proxy 4. And then if proxy 1 is down for some reason, okay, it's not available, so Zabbix will redistribute automatically, you don't need to do anything, those hosts between remaining proxies. So that is how it's gonna work. Yeah, so the redistribution is happening automatically. So we receive load balancing, and we get also high availability basically for free. Yeah, so that is really, really nice. So high availability of proxies, load balancing, and if we use proxies in a cloud environment, so for example, we use auto-scaling groups, AWS auto-scaling groups, it's really easy to make this integration. Yeah, and that's how it looks, yeah? So we have, for example, different proxy groups in different cities, and there could be different states, like online, recovering, degrading, offline. We can specify a minimum proxies per each group. So this is quite sophisticated functionality. I will not go into much details, just have a look at the documentation. We have also webinars, we have also blog posts about it. Zabbix 7.0 also introduced advanced DNS monitoring. I'd like to tell you that it's really kind of complete DNS monitoring coming from Zabbix. So if you're interested in DNS monitoring, and DNS, it's at the very core of IT infrastructure. It needs to be monitored. It must be monitored. So we introduced good methods of monitoring it, DNS, DNSSEC, also performance and availability and the details, DNS record details. It all can be monitored right now. Some minor things. Now it's possible to manage tags for discovered hosts. So if you discovered some hosts or some services, you may assign a different tags for those discovered hosts. Yeah, so it's not something big, but it's very, very useful functionality. Now also it's possible to, when you execute a manual action, for example, you click on a host, you execute some action. Okay, I would like to install, I don't know, I would like to, I don't know, shut down this host for some time. And then you may ask user, okay, for what time you'd like to shut down this host? For 1 minute, or maybe after how much time you'd like to shut down it? After 1 minute, after 5 minutes, or after 10 minutes? So now it's possible to ask user before executing some script. So what exactly you would like to do? So this is also kind of small functionality, but very, very useful. There are some, I cannot talk about all the improvements we have implemented at Zabbix 7.0. There are many of them, especially some smaller improvements. But those are just a few of the major improvements which we implemented. That host group created by low-level discovery can be shared. Support of macro functions for user built-in macros, we support it everywhere. For example, what is interesting, the configurable media types for users provisioned by just-in-time user provisioning. So now it's possible to manage media types in Active Directory, not in Zabbix itself. Yeah? So all user management can be done in Active Directory or in OpenLDAP, including management of media types. So that is really good. And of course, there are many other improvements. All right, just to summarize. Yes, we build Zabbix to make it extremely adaptable for different use cases, extremely flexible, and trying to introduce new ways how to, I don't know, how to make Zabbix better integratable into existing ecosystem of the tools you may already have. And of course, we already have UI models, agent plugins, streaming data if events, webhooks, but with every new release we introduce something new, like framework for widget developers. Now we can basically build a custom UI, yeah, using dashboards and using navigatable dashboards. We also want to introduce event correlation. We really wanted to implement event correlation model in 7.0, but at the end we decided to postpone it maybe to 7.2 or 7.4. We've been very close. The data ingestion and the ability to process data of absolutely any type. Yeah? Okay, metric data, logs, open telemetry data, even binary data. So speaking about the screenshot, what is a screenshot? Screenshot is a binary data. So we already collect the binary data actually. Yeah? So again, looking from the higher level, the bird's view on Zabbix, 7.0, we made, I think, a huge step in the data visualization, next generation data visualization, proxy load balancing, synthetic web monitoring. But in 8.0, we really, as Zabbix team, we want to introduce even more. Yeah, to have ability to monitor application, tracing, open telemetry, much better event and log management. And also, I think that at some point we'll introduce some management functions in Zabbix. So Zabbix will not only able to monitor things it needs to monitor, but also somehow manage those objects of monitoring. Thank you. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Thanks.
Alexei, please, we have some questions.
Okay.
Some quick questions. I'd say that the first one would be, what do you think your favorite or the biggest improvement that we had in 7.0? What was like the biggest feature, the biggest change that makes you so happy and something like that? The big one for you.
I don't know. I think it's not only about one feature or one enhancement. I think it's about many things. proxy load balancing or those performance improvements and visualization. I like those so much. So I don't know. I cannot just select one thing to tell you. Yeah, there are so many.
I think I understand. You see everything as a whole, right?
Yes, exactly. So.
Okay, we don't have much time, but I think I have a little bit more for another question. You mentioned the usability of the front end. We had some questions related to any kind of integration for a unique front end for different Zabbix servers, like 3 Zabbix servers pointing to the same dashboard, so you can have one big front end for different instances.
Yeah. So when we are talking about the single pane of glass, it's also about the ability to display on a single dashboard information coming from a different Zabbix servers and Zabbix deployments. I think it is coming, and it's in our roadmap. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you, Alexei. If anyone else have questions to Alexei, you can ask him directly during the intervals.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alexei.